Hey, this is Shane. Today, I'm going to teach you what to expect when you get your new Blackbird or Blackbird Titanium. First, I'll show you how the razor arrives, and I'll help you get it set up for the first time. Then I'll teach you how to care for your new Blackbird, and finally, I'll give you some tips and tricks for how to get the best shaves of your life from your new Blackbird or Blackbird Titanium. And if you want to learn more about the Blackbird, please make sure you check out the product highlight video linked in the description. And of course, if you like what we're doing here at Blackland, I hope you'll like this video and subscribe for more. Alright, so when your Blackbird arrives, it's going to come in this box. We'll go ahead and open it up. And by the way, all of our packaging, as well as our products, are made right here in the USA, including this custom box, as well as the foam and this card insert. So the first thing you'll notice is this care card. This just gives you some instructions on how to make sure your Blackbird lasts and stays in great condition. Don't worry, we're going to get to all that in detail in this video. Set that aside for now. And then we get to our Blackbird, right on top. This particular Blackbird is in the machine finish with the standard handle. You can see this extra bit of foam down here that gets removed, so there's room for the longer handle. And if you get the extra stand or base plate, you'll find those here, along with your 5 Personna Lab Blue blades. And we'll get to more on that later in this video. This particular Blackbird doesn't have an extra base plate, but that's where it will go. Put that back together, and we'll go ahead and take out the Blackbird. Now, most of our razors will come with a washer between the head and the handle. That's going to protect it during shipping, but the Blackbird does not. And that's because the handle actually interlocks into the base plate of the Blackbird. So there's no need for a washer. So if your Blackbird arrives without a washer, don't worry about it. That's completely intentional. Your base plate will still be in perfect condition. Okay, so I want to talk briefly about the blades that come with the Blackbird. Every Blackbird, and in fact every double-edged razor we make, comes with 5 Personna Lab Blue blades. And we include these specific blades because they are the only blades made here in the USA, apart from the Personna Med Preps, which are almost certainly the exact same blade with different preparation for hospital environment. And these are a great blade, but when you get your new Blackbird, we actually don't want you to use them right away. We want you to first try out a blade that you already know and love as you get used to your new razor. And we'll talk about that more later in the video. And if you're interested in these blades, we have a link to them in the description. Alright, now that we have the Blackbird unboxed, I'm going to show you how to disassemble it, and we'll get it set up for the first time. Now, if you've used any other double-edged razor, this is not going to be anything new to you, because the Blackbird is, after all, pretty standard double-edged razor in that regard. So unscrew it here. And here you can see the part of the boss of the handle that inserts into the base plate. And you can use other handles with the Blackbird. It uses standard M5 thread. And this particular Blackbird is all stainless steel in the machine finish. So we'll take that Personna Lab Blue blade, and I'm left-handed, so you may need to switch this if you're new to double-edged razors. I like to put the top cap face up in my palm or on my fingertips. Then I take our blade, and we just let it slide right over the top, just like that. Then we take the base plate, we drop it right over the top. Now I like to pinch it from the sides like that, while I grab the handle, and simply thread it on like normal. And when you tighten up your razor, this is true for all razors, not just the Blackbird, you just want to get it hand tight. You don't need to torque it down or apply any extra strength. If you can't break it with a simple twist, you're tightening it too hard. And that will still probably be fine, but you might damage the threads, and it's just not necessary. So just tighten it just snug, hand tight, and you'll be good to go. Now on the Blackbird, if you look very carefully, you'll notice that we have just about 0.5 millimeter of blade tab exposed on either side. And this is intentional. This amount of blade makes it easy to grip onto as you assemble the razor. It makes inserting and removing the blade easier, but it doesn't catch on your skin or your ear while you're shaving. And it's also very subtle, so you can barely tell when you're looking at the razor. All right, now that we have it assembled, we'll go ahead and take it apart. And this is pretty simple as well. We unscrew it with the head pinched together. We set the handle aside, and we just reverse the process. Some people will flip the entire thing upside down and let everything fall apart. I like to just do it this way, just the way I assembled it. And here's where it can come in handy with those blade tabs. We just pull up, never from the sharp side, and that's it. And that's how you disassemble your Blackbird. And before we can start shaving, I first want to teach you how to care for your new Blackbird. The Blackbird comes in stainless steel or titanium, but the care instructions for both are similar. The main thing is you want to allow the razor to dry between shaves to avoid corrosion. To do this, you can either disassemble the razor entirely and dry off each component, or you can do what I do and simply loosen the handle a little bit between shaves. If you leave a wet blade assembled in the razor for too long, that blade itself can rust or corrode, and that can actually transfer to the razor and leave ugly tea staining. So we want to avoid that by letting the razor and blade dry fully between shaves. And if you're going to store your Blackbird for a long time, make sure you take the blade out entirely and dry off the entire razor before you store it. Now occasionally, you'll want to deep clean your Blackbird. And to do so, you just use a little bit of dish soap on a soft cloth and rub down all the components of the Blackbird. You want to make sure you avoid anything harsh, like an abrasive, barkeeper's friend, or brasso, or any hard bristled brush. These can damage the finish of the Blackbird, and this is especially true of the polish finish. The only time you ever want to use a metal polish is when you're touching up a polish finish, and only if you know what you're doing. Otherwise, we recommend just using dish soap and a soft cloth. Now we're almost ready to shave, but first I want to give you some tips for using a new razor. And these work for all razors, but they're especially true of the Blackbird, which is very unique because of its head design. The first thing I want to recommend is that you pick one blade type and stick with it for the first 5 to 10 shaves, maybe even more. The key here is you want to reduce the variables so you can know if it's your technique or your blade that's leading to an outcome. A lot of times users try every blade under the sun, and it makes it impossible for them to know if their technique is the cause or their blade is the cause. Now in my experience, it's almost always your technique that is at fault if you have a bad shave. So we first want to make sure your technique is correct. So by picking one blade, you reduce the variables and you can always know that your technique is the problem. And once you master that one blade, you know your technique is perfect, and then you can try a bunch of blades to really dial in the Blackbird to suit your needs perfectly. But only after you get the technique right. And with any new razor, especially the Blackbird, you want to make sure that you're adjusting your technique to the razor and not the other way around. I also recommend that you use the Blackbird for at least 5 to 7 shaves in a row if you can. This is because you get used to a razor the more you use it. And if you go to a new razor in between, you're going to revert to that technique instead of adjusting to the Blackbird's technique. So by sticking with the same razor for a while, you're going to really be able to get comfortable with it, and that will accelerate your learning and make sure that you get used to it much quicker. And of all razors that I know of, this is especially true for the Blackbird. Because its angle of use is so unique, and we'll get to that in a second, and because the blade feel is high, and because it's just a very different experience, a lot of times that first shave isn't perfect. And we get a lot of customers who reach out after a shave or two and say, hey, I don't think this is going to work for us. And we always tell them, hey, just go back to the razor, keep using it, don't even think about it, and you will adjust to the razor. And almost all the time, those people come back and they say, hey, I was wrong, and we love the Blackbird. So you never want to reach conclusion after one shave. Always give it 5 to 7 shaves, and go into that first shave not expecting something great. It's never going to be your best shave. They're always going to get better from there. So now, let's get to a Blackbird shave. There are 2 keys to shaving with the Blackbird, and those are angle and pressure. The Blackbird's head is specially designed to force you into the perfect shaving angle. This is a lot shallower than most razors, so you really want to let the head guide you and not try to make the razor adjust to the way you're used to shaving. Allow that angled head to force you into the perfect optimal position, because if you try to fight it, you're going to find the shave to be uncomfortable, and it's also not going to be as efficient as it otherwise would be. So let the head guide you. And if you're unsure of what a shallow angle is, that's with the razor more on your top cap. So if you were shaving down your cheek, you want to lift the handle up. That gives you a nice shallow angle. Start shallower. As you get used to the razor, you can play with that angle over time and find that it might be a little steeper on your neck, and you can adjust as you go. But you want to start off nice and shallow as you first get used to your Blackbird. When you first start shaving with your Blackbird, you're going to notice that it's going to have more blade feel than most razors you're used to. But don't worry, you might be intimidated at first, but the narrow blade gap of the Blackbird means that you're not at high risk for nicks or cuts. You're just going to have to get used to that blade feel. And we at Blackbird believe that blade feel is actually extremely useful. It's going to give you instant feedback so you know exactly how much pressure you're applying and you know exactly where the blade is at all time. It's a little counterintuitive, but that high blade feel can actually help you avoid irritation. When you have a razor that has almost no blade feel, you have no idea how much pressure you're applying. And so you can get in the habit of just going willy-nilly and adding a ton of pressure and just scrubbing at your face. All that extra blade on your skin is actually going to increase irritation. And when you first start using your Blackbird, as with any stainless steel razor, you want to use little to no pressure. Really allow the weight of gravity to do the work for you, and just focus on that angle. We always recommend that first shave be only with the grain. You don't want to try to get the perfect shave, you just want to get a pretty good shave for your first go as you learn the razor. Don't expect a baby butt smooth shave, don't expect to have the best shave of your life. Just try to get through the shave by learning something about the razor and letting gravity do the work for you. Over time, you'll find that the Blackbird is actually really forgiving. You can add a little bit of pressure here and there, but as you first get used to it, you're going to find the blade feel to be a little unnerving, and we really recommend that you take it slow. After that first couple shaves, you're going to really find it to not be a big deal at all. Because the Blackbird is so efficient, you may find that you actually don't need as many passes as you would with another razor. And that's intentional. We actually want you to get in and out as fast as you can. That reduces the amount of time the blade spends on your skin, and that's going to cut down on irritation, reduce that risk of nicks and cuts, and also get you out of the bathroom faster. So we believe that really efficient razors actually are great for people with sensitive skin, and they're actually great for people who are new to shaving, because when you use a mild razor, it really hides a lot of the pressure and a lot of what's going on with the razor. So the Blackbird makes you keenly aware, and you're going to be a much better shaver after you use the Blackbird for a while. That translates to all the razors you'll use. You'll become a much more proficient shaver once you get used to the Blackbird, but you probably won't want to use another razor anyway. Alright, I hope those tips and tricks help you get started with your Blackbird. I know you're going to love this razor. It's the very first product we made here at Blackland. It's my first design, and I'm incredibly proud of it. Since we've made it, thousands of men and women around the world have woken up every morning and used the Blackbird. And there's a reason why. It's just an incredible razor that nothing else in the market shaves quite like. You're going to find this experience to be extremely unique. Just make sure you give it some time and adapt to the razor, and you're going to be rewarded with the best shaves you've ever had. I'm sure of it. If you ever have any questions about your new purchase, make sure you shoot us an email, support@blacklandrazors.com. You can also leave us a comment here. And of course, please again, subscribe and like this video if you want to keep giving you new content. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.